Good day everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and it's Thursday the 31st of October 2019, and it's just around 11 a.m. in Singapore, and it's the daily analysis for spot gold and dollar yen. Let's take a look at the spot gold first. After the Fed decision early this morning at 2 a.m. to cut rates, and let's zoom in on the 4-hour time frame. Initially, the Fed did cut rates for the third time this year and the third consecutive month by another 25 basis points. But Chairman Jerome Powell did say that they will keep it on hold for now until something major happens in the economic outlook that will require them to make further changes or decisions. So for now, there's probably going to be a pause in rate cuts, and be looking at data, and probably December will not have any change, and probably the next round will be in March next year before any potential review of the past data. So initially, after the rate announcement, the spot gold fell right through the weekly S1 pivot and made a low to almost 1481 before recovering and bouncing all the way up after Chairman Powell's press conference, and recovered all the way up into the 200 period EMA into resistance zone, and earlier this morning it punched through it into the next resistance zone and sitting above the monthly pivot now at just above 1498, and right above now there's the extension of the previous ascending wedge upper trend line, and that's intersecting the 1500 resistance level here. So this zone from the 1500 to the weekly pivot at 1501, that's the key resistance zone now, along with the upper trend line. If it does break through that, then it will try to climb back up to the 50% fib retracement level at 1508. However, it could consolidate first between these two zones, just below the 38 fib retracement level, from 1495 to the 1500 level, before it either can break through above the resistance zone, or it's going to roll back over, and there's the lower trend line of the slightly ascending wedge that will provide support till around the 1494 area. So 1494 to 1495 is going to be the intermediate support zone now. We can also move this intermediate level zone here down to the 50% fib retracement. If it does break higher above the weekly pivot, alright, and also the just before the announcement as well, the advanced GDP was better than expected for the US. So although the previous day the consumer confidence was lower than expected. So the inverse for the dollar yen will be true after this spike lower and a significant bounce back up. That's almost 150 pips there. Let's take a look at the dollar yen and its reaction. So yesterday it managed to spike through this upper trend line, the ascending wedge, and to hit the 138 fib extension level before pulling back down and form a long-legged doji or spinning top. And now it has fallen below the lower trend line. Let's take a look at the 4 time frame. So initially it did push up higher all the way through 1409 to set a high of 109.29 before retracing all the way back below the weekly R1 level, and this morning continued lower, trying to target the weekly pivot at a 108.56, and now finding support at the 55 period EMA now. So you can see that it has already fallen out of the apex of the ascending wedge and turning lower. So this is the key support level now for now. There's fallen through this previous intermediate support. And if it falls below the weekly pivot, then it has to contend with the previous swing high and as intermediate support, and it may target the weekly S1 at the 108.36 level. Right, so after the rate cut, the initial reaction was attempt to move higher, but then has failed and has turned and rolled over lower. There is also the Bank of Japan rate decision and monetary policy decisions as well coming up in anytime next hour or so. So we'll see what their reaction is, what their response is to the US Fed rate cuts, and see whether they will make any decisions related to their domestic policies, and we'll see whether there's a reaction to that as well for the dollar yen. There is also the US non-farm payroll report coming up tomorrow night, and also the US ISM manufacturing PMI. So a couple more key news events before the close of the week, and we'll see whether the dollar yen will continue to roll over and spot gold continue higher. All right. Meanwhile, have a good trading week then, and cheers.